Thanks Berlin and Dzień dobry from Warsaw, everybody. We are very delighted to participate in the final event of the project Europe Talks 2021 and contribute with an interview with Bart Staszewski, who is a very well-known Polish LGBTQI+ activist and documentarist. Bart, a very warm welcome at the premises of the Goethe Institute here. We are very happy that you found the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you for hosting me.
I have a question right away. What rights do LGBTQI people in Poland have?
Oh, actually, we don't have them, actually. When we count them, we can think about trans people having some kind of rights, but they need to create a lawsuit against their own parents if they want to change the legal document they have during the transition process they have. But on the daily basis, we don't have the civil unions, we don't have the marriage equality, nor we have the hate speech law. So we are not protected by a state, which is, I think, the most horrible thing. So on the very daily basis, we are in a constant danger. Of course, if somebody will beaten us, or if some very big danger will happen to us, we can be protected by the other different articles in the criminal law. But the worst thing which is happening actually on the very daily basis is the hate speech, which is constant thing in the Polish TV, Polish politics, being everywhere visible.
When you look back the last, let's say the recent 30 years, what changes took place in Poland?
When I think about the last 30 years, I think about Polish solidarity movement, Polish transformation process, and that there was a very good opportunity to create the first step to the equality, which could be the civil unions. But accidentally, the left-wing party, we could say, sold this subject to the church when they was going into the European Union for the church who was not opposing Poland going to the European Union, being part of it. So last 30 years was the building the infrastructure, rebuilding Poland, but we forgot about those basic human rights. And now it's much more harder to do anything about this. I created a documentary about this in 2016, Article 18, because Article 18 is also the name of the article from the Polish Constitution that says that marriage is a union between the man and woman, and so is protected by a state. Nothing else. So we could have at least the civil unions. But for many politicians it was used as an excuse in the debate for the LGBT rights that we cannot do anything because we have a Polish constitution, blah, blah, blah. And so it was always a problem for them to create any kind of change. I remember Donald Tusk telling that this is not the time for the viewpoint debate, it's not a time for such a thing. When it was another civil union bill in the parliament which was dropped, draft bill, so it was always not a time for civil unions or the marriage equality or the hate speech law. So 30 years, but of course we should mention that there was the LGBT movement there. Mm-hmm. We was creating, going forward, we was educating the people. At least the government was not opposing to those things. Maybe we wasn't supported by them too much, but we was not in a danger, or there was no problems made for us. So everything changed in 2015.
Yeah, let's concentrate maybe on the last 5 years since the new government took over power in Poland. What changes? Because what I understand from you is that especially these last 5 years made life much more complicated for the LGBTQI communities in Poland. And what happened in these last 5-6 years?
When the Polish nationalistic right-wing government came into power, so Law and Justice, Peace, we could say that everything has changed because we started to be the Polish enemy. They called us as an enemy in the debate. They called us that we are a threat to the Polish lifestyle. we are the foreign agenda that can implicate the Polish families. And so we could see how it slowly, this hate speech slowly increased in the debate, where the top politicians started to use the hate language against us, when the public TV has been used as a tool against the minorities, my minority. So this was the horrible thing. And then the whole plan of this LGBT-free zone started, where the first municipalities in 2019 started to declare the fight with the LGBT people, calling them for the LGBT ideology. Their visibility became a threat, so we should get back to the closet. And so the 2019 was the worst, I think, year ever, because even in the communism era, it was never pronounced by the government as a public enemy, and it changed in 2019, because the public figures, the Prime Minister, the President Duda, during his election time, calling us us not for human, but for an ideology, and the other politicians from the ruling party. It became the worst year ever. I was feeling myself that we are second category citizens because we cannot do anything. Those old people are against us. Those are creating those zones free from humanity, we could say, quoting Ursula von der Leyen. And this was the worst thing ever. But on the other hand, we seen the Polish Stonewall, how we was uprising, how we was creating the highest number of the Pride parades through whole Poland in the small and big cities, which was fantastic. And we see the Polish grassroots society is increasing, and we see that young people don't want to just watch the situation, they want to be a part of the change, they want to be a change. And this is the good thing about this. The Polish nation is a bit like, the more we are pushing, the more people are responding to what the situation is. And this is what we are looking. I think that we have a very bad situation, but on the other hand, young people are going, protesting, being involved into the climate movement, being involved into the equality movement. This is the good part of it.
I think from observing the society, I myself haven't been a long time in Poland now. We are not just for coincidence sitting here in the exhibition that the Goethe Institute has at the moment, Queer as German Folk, which also sheds a light on the Stonewall movement in Eastern and Western Germany. But maybe it's maybe you would agree to answer if we ask you, or if I ask you a more personal question, because you are basically riding a tech every day. So how does the life of an activist look like? Your everyday life? It must be quite exhausting, isn't it?
Oh, it is actually, because you feel that your own country is against you, that the Polish leaders are against you. I remember just 2 weeks ago, the Polish president, in the interview for Latinian TV, called me for the most radical and the most aggressive activist in Poland. So it's an equal battle. But when the president of Poland is calling you like that, when the prime minister 1 year ago is telling that I am the fake news maker, which is also the threat, and the Polish ministers like Czarnek is telling that I am the chief neo-Marxist ideologist chairman. So those things can be funny sometimes, but on the other hand, the hatred came to you. Every time the public TV is screening something about me or the LGBT movement, I got many threats by the internet, which I usually go with them to the police, and I just make a complaint, which usually doesn't mean anything, because they are anonymous. So LGBT activists are under the constant threat. I'm not the only one. On the other hand, we got the lawsuits, politically motivated lawsuits, so slaps are the daily basis, daily bread for the activists. I got 3 lawsuits from the municipalities represented by the connected to government Anti-Defamation League with Maciej Świrski and the top leader of them. And my fellow friends from the Atlas of Hate, who created a map, virtual map of Poland with the LGBT free zones over there. They collected all of them. They got 7 lawsuits from the municipalities represented by the Ordo Iuris. So we see how those right-wing NGOs are involved into this battle with the LGBT activists and how much it's politically motivated. So it's not just about my mood, how I am feeling, but also the legal consequences, the intimidation which is constant, and on the other hand, of course, the signal to all other, the chilling effect, that if you will go the same steps, the same path, you can pay big consequences.
Is there anything, or what would you say, is there anything EU politicians or EU activists may do to support your projects, to support other activist groups in Poland fighting for rights for the LGBTQI communities?
I think that one of those things can be, of course, fighting with the SLAPs, so those politically motivated lawsuits, which this debate already started in the European Parliament. On the other hand, fighting with those LGBT free zones, which are happening in Poland, less of them. More of them is now withdrawing, and this is a good thing. On the other hand, I think that we need to decide if this union is the union of equality, some values, or is it just a union of policies? So this is the big question for the next years. But I think that slowly European Union is going in the good direction. Creating equality strategy is one of those things. But I'm just hoping that there will be more of those signals, more of those things, because if the European Union will close the eyes on what is happening in Poland, Hungary, and other countries, of course, there is no future in front of the European Union.
Maybe you can give us an example of upcoming projects of yours. What are you doing at the moment in order to shape the future?
I'm focusing about visibility of the LGBT people and our rights and our problems. So this is the things that I will underline in next year. And of course, I'm also thinking about the election time, that we should have the Polish LGBT people agenda in the parliament, how we can support those LGBT future politicians like they are doing in the United States. The Victory Funds and other initiatives which are over there are supporting LGBT people to make a change. We need to be in the part of the debate. We just can think about this. This is the thing I am thinking. How we can do it is the big question, but we should focus already on those topics.
Bart, thank you very much for coming here to us today and sharing your valuable time, your thoughts with us and the audience. I give back to Berlin now.